So it's been a week of day after day, change after change, and it's moved so quickly, hasn't it? And that's going to continue. You might have seen the news this afternoon that there'll be more changes coming. I've been in this week. I've been so proud of our community here at St Declan's for the way in which people have responded with great care for those, and first of all, great care for others, and then secondly also just in coming together in order to be able to keep celebrating the Mass. So over this weekend, we've had some 50 extra volunteers helping to make Mass happen over the 5 Masses. That's a great response. And last weekend I threw out there, without having really talked to anybody about it, that I didn't want anyone in our parish to be in a situation where they needed, maybe they were isolated, or maybe it was just really difficult to get to the shops and they'd be without the things that they needed, food, and perhaps if they need a prescription filled or something like that. So I just said, I think as a parish that we'd want to be able to make sure that we can support people in that time, in that situation. I'd say I couldn't be exactly sure, but we're probably at about 30 different people who volunteered to be able to do that in this last week, who've put their hand up and made contact with us and said, look, let us know what we can do. And so we actually, in this last week, we've started a new ministry in the parish. So we're calling it Project Agape, and it's designed just to do what I've been saying, to be able to take, if somebody is isolated, they need groceries or help in that kind of way, someone will be able to take some groceries and leave them at their door. So the details of that are in the bulletin, and they'll be on our various online communications as well. But it's a wonderful response, isn't it? Isn't that a terrific thing to see? People responding so generously with that idea and knowing that there's that need emerging in our community. I think we've got a moment as a parish to decide perhaps more deeply what kind of community we are. There's no doubt that those 2 examples are signs that we are really a community of faith, that we are really people who who are connected and want to care for each other. We've got a moment, I think, to go further than that. And I particularly want to say that it's my hope and my prayer for us that going forward, we'd be able to say that nobody has been faceless during this time. We're a big parish, lots of people come to church here, and some of us know each other well and some of us don't know each other so well. It's my hope and prayer that in this time we'd find that no one's faceless, that no one goes missing, that we'd be able to make sure that we're caring for each and every one of our parishioners. I also think as a community that it's really important that we would know at this time that we're not just for ourselves. It might be easy, and the temptation would be to think, well, I've just got to look after myself in this situation, or maybe I've just got to look after my family. But the truth is that we're the family of God. We're brothers and sisters in Jesus, we're family. And so to have that sense, to have that awareness that we're actually here to care for one another is really important too. And that's evidenced by the fact that response that we've had just in this last 7 days. If we were just a community, though, that looked inwards too, that wouldn't be right either, okay? Because that's not the church. That's not the body of Christ. Even in, and perhaps especially in these moments, we're to look outwards as well. We're to reach out beyond ourselves. We're to try and care for others and to look out for others in need. That's why the whole Project Agape thing is not designed to be just for us, but if you've got a neighbour in need, let us know so we can help. If there's somebody that you're aware of who has that kind of a need, let us know so we're able to support people in that way. We'll make sure it's done safely, but we'll make sure also that people get what they need. It feels very providential to me, it has all weekend, as we've listened to the readings today, that the psalm we've got is from Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, there's nothing I shall want. The Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want. And it's my prayer and hope that we would really know at this time that we are, that the Lord is our shepherd, that Jesus Christ is the shepherd of this flock, that he cares for us, and that he will look after us in and through this circumstance, in and through the situation that we find ourselves in. The psalm goes on to say that the Lord revives my drooping spirit. Perhaps you've had a bit of a drooping spirit this week, As you've watched the news, as you've been online, as you've heard everything that's been going on, perhaps your spirit has drooped a little. Or perhaps your spirit's drooped because as all of this has happened, something very precious, of being able to gather for the Eucharist, feels like it's been taken away. Being able to gather for all the parish events and things that we have on, not being able to do those things. Perhaps your spirit has drooped a little because of that. Well, to listen and take comfort from the words of the psalm that Jesus revives our drooping spirit. He revives us. And if you needed reviving this week, then to know that Jesus is the one who can do that he can revive us, even in this situation. The psalm goes on to say, even if I walk through the darkest valley, you are with me. Even if I walk through the darkest valley, you are with me. So to know that the Lord is with us at this time is so important, so crucial. So much so, it's my hope that we come through this time, and it's my conviction and my prayer, that we come out this at the other, we'll come through this, and we'll come through it as a community that's actually stronger. That's my prayer, my hope, but it's also my conviction. That might sound really counterintuitive. We won't be able to gather as we've been able to gather, as we're used to gathering. We're going to have to find other ways of doing that, and we're working really hard to be able to do that. But it is my conviction that we'll come out of this stronger. We'll come out of this with a greater sense of connection between us. The psalm goes on and says, in the Lord's own house shall I dwell forever and ever. When King David wrote the psalm, it was a reference to the temple that was only just starting to be built. Well, Jesus is the new temple for us as followers of him. And so we are his body, we are part of that new temple. That means that while it's so crucial that we gather for Eucharist, we also find that Jesus is with us wherever we go. That because we are part of his body, we are able to worship and praise God, not just in a physical place, but wherever we are. Having said that, the psalm finishes by saying, you have prepared a banquet for me. And Christians have always interpreted that line as being super fulfilled in the Eucharist. That here is where Jesus prepares a banquet for us, where he himself is the feast, where he gives himself to us. It looks very likely that we won't be able to gather even with these small numbers in the coming days and weeks ahead. One of the things that has really struck me about the last week is about how much people love the Eucharist. That as we have done what we've been able to do in order to be able to make the Eucharist possible publicly today, I've seen and heard from so many people their heart, their love for Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. That's going to look different in these coming days if I understand the latest announcement this afternoon foreshadowing what's about to come. But I want to promise you a couple of things in that. I want to promise you that the priests here at St Declan's will continue to celebrate Mass and will continue to do that on behalf of the world. When we offer Mass, we offer it for the sake of the world. And so we'll continue to do that here at St Declan's. And we'll continue to do it also, we'll continue to do that especially for those who are suffering. And we'll continue to do it for you. And we want you to know at this time that we love you. Very, very much. Live stream is not the same as Eucharist. It's a precious gift we've been given in this day and age, and it's a wonderful thing. We're going to make the most of it. We'll stream the Masses so you can continue to participate from home, but it's not the same. And I know that, and you know that. And as we gather, it'd be easier if you weren't crying too. Sorry about that. Just know that as we do that, there's a mysterious thing that could happen here. There's a mysterious grace that could emerge. As I said at the beginning of Mass, we might realise that we just can't take this for granted, right? That the Eucharist is the centre of our faith, because it's the death and the resurrection of Jesus made present to us today. We shouldn't take it for granted. It's Jesus' most precious gift to us. But I want to promise you that we will find ways of gathering together online and over the phone, ways where we continue to be connected as a community of faith. We'll find ways too to make sure that you continue to grow in your faith in this time. You're not going to go backwards. We're going to make sure that you've got what you need to be able to grow in faith at this time as well. We're going to make sure as well that we've got opportunities to love one another, as I flagged and mentioned earlier. But let's also make sure that we maintain and remember that we're a people of hope, that we believe and we're leading up to the moment where Jesus showed himself to be the Lord of history, the Lord of all things. He's the Lord of this moment. He's the Lord of this situation. And he remains always the Lord of our lives.